All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're just going to go through some of the other latest news and headlines here in the offseason. So the first thing I want to get into is actually the rule changes. So there's going to be a pitch clock tweak. So the time between pitches with runners on base is now going to be 18. Is now 18 seconds. It was originally 20, but with the bases empty, it's still going to remain the same with the 15 seconds. So, I'm fine with that. Listen, honestly, the pitch clock worked. And I really didn't notice a difference last year. I thought it was going to be, so different watching games last year. Obviously you noticed the games were speeding up, but I didn't really notice a difference. Other than the games ended quicker. And even going to the few games that I did go to last year, I really didn't notice a difference. So, listen, I love the new rules. I love that the game is speeding up. I think it was great. So, I have no problem with it. But, so that just only speeds it up a little bit, even more, which is nice. So then also mound visits. So the number of mound visits per team will be reduced from 5 to 4. Again, another way to just continuing to speed up the game. Because again, mound visits take up time. And of course, then you got to have the umpire go out there and, break up the huddle on the pitcher's mound. So again, I have no problem with that. So another thing, too, is pitchers who warm up must face a batter. So a pitcher who is sent to the mound to warm up between innings must now face at least one batter. MLB said there were 24 occasions last season that a pitcher warmed up between innings and was replaced before throwing a pitch, adding approximately 3 minutes of dead time per event. So again, I'm looking at an article on USA Today. And then the other thing, too, is a wider runner lane, and that's going to first base. So the runner lane towards first base will now include the space between the foul line and the infield grass. That adds 18 to 24 inches to the runner's lane. So, and MLB said this allows batters to take a more direct path to first base while retaining protection from interference. So I don't have a problem with that either. Yeah, so listen, I'm all for the new rules. So, obviously, the second base rule in extra innings, no. that we can get rid of. But, stuff like this, I have no complaints with that. So that's regarding the rule changes. So now let's get into some of the other off-season news. So, the Mets were one of the teams in on Yamamoto, but they did make a trade recently with the Brewers, and obviously, David Stearns, coming in, and, used to be a part of the Brewers organization. So the Mets acquired Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor from the Brewers in exchange for pitching prospect Coleman Crowe. So Hauser actually used to be a decent starter for the Brewers. He's dealt with injuries recently, but, the Mets are a team that, needs pitching help. And, listen, he could be a guy that's a low-risk trade that ends up turning out, and that's kind of what the Mets have been doing. They signed Luis Severino, which, again, if Severino can return to at least somewhat of what he used to be, that could also be a decent signing. But, yeah, he had a 3.22 ERA across 142 innings in 2021. But in 2022 and 2023, he had a 4.73 ERA. So, but, yeah, he's missed time with injuries. So, again, we'll see if he can maybe return to form from a couple years ago. So that's recent news there. Also, you had Andrew McCutchen re-signing with the Pirates. So he came back to the Pirates last year. Obviously, he spent multiple years on different teams. He was with the Yankees, the Giants, the Phillies, the Brewers. He bounced around a little bit. But, then he came back to Pittsburgh last year. And actually, let's look at his stats. He wasn't too bad last year. He did say, though, that that the rebuild window is done. Like this is now the time for the Pirates to contend. Pirates got some young players that they could build off of, but I mean, listen, they are in a weak division. That's what definitely benefits them. But again, I don't know. So yeah, he was with the Giants, the Yankees, the Phillies. He was actually with the Phillies for 3 seasons. Then he was with the Brewers in 2022, and then 2023 came back to the Pirates. But yeah, I mean, he was an MVP, All-Star. I mean, his best season. I mean, he was really consistent with the Pirates. I mean, his career high in home runs for a single season was in 2012. Had 31 home runs, 96 RBIs. He had a 327 batting average. Yeah, he was a solid player at one point in his career, and he could still be productive, just not like what he used to be. Last season, and he played in 112 games. He had 12 home runs, 43 RBIs, 256 batting average, 776 OPS. So he was, he was okay. Not spectacular, but again, I think that's where he belongs, is in Pittsburgh. So I mean, obviously he could retire at some point, but it's good to see him back there once again. But yeah, he also so MVP, 5-time All-Star, Gold Glove. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's nice that he's back in Pittsburgh, but we'll see. I mean, and Pittsburgh got off to a good start last year. It's just everything kind of fell apart. So we'll see. And then Pittsburgh actually also made another move. They signed Martin Perez to a 1-year, $8 million deal. He was an All-Star back in 2022, posting a 2.88 ERA. But in 2023, ERA kind of jumped up a little bit. Ended up coming out of the rotation. And listen, I mean, the Rangers, getting Montgomery and Scherzer, it makes sense why that happened. But yeah, so that was another move that the Pirates made. And really, I mean, there's just, other than that, it's just a lot of rumors and stuff. I mean, you had the Phillies, they're trying to add, well, obviously they were trying to add Yamamoto, but, we'll see what ends up happening with, like, Blake Snell, of course. The Giants are looking actually for a shortstop to maybe trade for, because it seems like Brandon Crawford's time with them is over. Guys they talked about were Ha-Sung Kim and Willie Adames, possibly. Padres actually, this is the other thing I was going to talk about. So the Padres look like they're going to bring in an all-star reliever from Japan, and that's Yuki Matsui. So he looks like he's going to be the replacement for Josh Hader. So he's 28 years old. So he made 5 all-star teams, recorded 236 saves, and posted a 2.43 ERA over 10 seasons for the Rakuten Golden Eagles. And he's actually an unrestricted free agent, so that means that they don't have to pay a posting fee to sign him. So Padres look like they at least have their replacement for Hader, which is nice. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Also, the Giants are showing interest in Imanaga, the other Japanese player. So he might be the guy that people pivot to now that Yamamoto's off the market. Also, I'm seeing now this is from like a week ago, but but even so, like I've seen stuff even before that. It's just the Astros maybe trading some of their core guys like Framber Valdez could be on the trade market. Bregman. I guess because if you can't pay him, but at the same time, it's like, really, like, would the Astros really consider trading these guys? Like, I don't know why they would do that. But I guess if they can't strike a deal, I mean, if you trade him, at least you get something back for him. But I don't know. It's that would be really interesting if they ended up doing that. But I don't know. I can't see that happening. But yeah, I mean at this point it's really just all there's all rumors and stuff. I mean Dylan Cease, Ken Rosenthal said that it's Dylan Cease is definitely going to get traded from the White Sox. There's still teams that need pitching help out there. Obviously, my team needs that. I've been seeing how Corbin Burns. Apparently, the Brewers don't want to deal him because they still want to compete. But listen, if somebody offers him something that blows them away, they might be inclined to say, you know what, maybe we got to trade him. So, trade him to the Yankees, please. That would be nice. Yeah, I mean, at this point, and we're still waiting on Bellinger. Right now it just seems like there's two teams that are the favorites to land him. It's coming down to either the Cubs or the Blue Jays. And obviously we'll get into that more in the next segment because we still, now that we got the big free agents off the board, most of them, Ohtani and Yamamoto were the biggest ones. You still got Bellinger out there. So, we'll get into, the rest of the big free agents that are out there at the moment. And then obviously we'll look at the biggest contracts in baseball history as well. So, but yeah, I mean, at this point, we'll see what is the latest domino to fall. So, I mean, again, that's why, like, when I'm doing the shorts, I'm just, posting whatever I see. Obviously, like, there might be some things that I talk about that, it's pretty obvious, what the answer could be one way or the other. But again, it's just for you guys to view and, discuss in the comments on them. So, actually, also another thing I wanted to mention. So I actually did catch a little bit of the Alex Verdugo press conference yesterday for the Yankees, and one of the reporters asked him, about how he played with, a lot of elite outfielders in Boston, and then he said most notably Mookie Betts, and Verdugo was like, "Yeah, I didn't play with Betts." Because he was part of the trade to get to trade away Mookie Betts. So I thought that. And listen, I can't really like blast somebody for doing that because I feel like sometimes like I would say I could maybe do something like that at some point, but yeah, that was pretty bad, especially because the guy was involved in the trade. But, yeah, and it's funny because the Yankees actually picked up another Jeter. They picked up Jeter Downs. So, yeah, they actually have like 2/3 of the trade package that the Red Sox got in the Mookie Betts trade. So all they need is Connor Wong, and they have the whole package. So, but, yeah, that was just something that I wanted to bring up yesterday that I saw. But, so before we go into our second break of the show, once again, I want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show and makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we come back from our second break of the show, we'll go through the top remaining free agents, where they could potentially go. And, that'll be the third part of the show when we come back from our second break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.